Welcome back to the channel for your daily crime video. Make sure you hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into the darkest criminal cases. Now, right up front, I need to give you a very serious warning. Today's video involves some incredibly deep, calculated psychological manipulation, and the details get highly gruesome later on. It might be really tough for some of you to hear. This is a story about how absolute trust can be weaponized into a deadly trap. Let's get into it. Picture this. It's January 2024 in the bustling city of Byeopyeong, South Korea. There's this wildly popular barbecue restaurant. We're not just talking about your average local eatery here. This place was legendary because it was open 365 days a year. It literally never closed. People would line up on the street before the doors even opened, but then, completely out of nowhere, the doors locked, the lights went out, and for 2 solid weeks, the place just sat there in the dark. It sparked absolute outrage. Loyal customers were protesting outside, demanding answers, wanting to know what on earth happened to the dedicated owner they all knew and loved. When the restaurant finally swung its doors back open a month later in early February, things were really weird. The original owner, a passionate, incredibly hardworking 30-year-old woman we'll call Lee, had basically been shoved into the background. Instead, sitting right at the front register, glaring at people and taking their money, was a 79-year-old woman. This was Lee's aunt, Shim. And Shim wasn't just ringing up orders, okay? She was literally grabbing customers by the hands, staring deep into their eyes, and whispering these dark prophecies about their futures. It was incredibly unsettling. So what was going on? Well, Shim wasn't just some eccentric older aunt. She was actually a practicing shaman. In Korean tradition, shamans are believed to bridge the human and spirit worlds, right? They perform rituals to alter fate. But Shim had completely twisted this ancient tradition. She was running a dark, highly secretive family cult, and she'd been doing it for nearly 40 years. She claimed the spirit of her deceased grandfather lived inside her, giving her godlike authority. It was so intense that no one in her family was allowed to make a single life decision without getting her permission first. You're probably wondering how she built that level of control. It was actually a highly calculated 3-step architecture of manipulation. First, whenever a follower had a problem, say a divorce or they lost their job, she instantly blamed it on sins they committed in a past life. Second, she'd terrify them, claiming worse things were coming unless they paid her absolute fortunes for quote-unquote remote cleansing rituals, meaning she didn't even do anything in person, she just collected the money. And third, she forced total social isolation. She literally kept her own 4 adult children locked away from society, forcing them to work remotely and taking every single penny they earned. Now, with all that stolen money, why target her niece's barbecue joint? Well, despite scamming her followers and stealing her kids' wages, Shim was sitting on a massive mountain of debt, specifically 1.8 billion won. To put that into perspective, that is roughly 9 crore rupees. She blew it all on this wildly extravagant lifestyle and a failed restaurant venture of her own down in Jeju. The woman had zero business sense, and now creditors were hunting her down day and night. She was desperate for cash. Let's break down exactly how this fraud unfolded chronologically, because it is essentially a multi-year trap. Starting way back in March 2022, Shim started calling Lee's mother, her own sister, mind you, warning her about this completely fabricated family curse. She spent years convincing them that Lee was possessed by an evil spirit that would literally wipe out their bloodline. By January 2024, the terrified parents folded. They transferred the restaurant into Lee's name and fled for their lives to the isolated Ulleungdo Island. That cleared the board. By February, Shim swooped right in under the guise of protecting Lee, taking total control of the Byeopyeong restaurant. With the parents out of the picture, Shim initiated a system of pure financial slavery. She intercepted every single cent the restaurant brought in. Lee, the rightful owner, was turned into an indentured servant, forced to work grueling 18-hour shifts from 8 a.m. straight to midnight. She was cooking, cleaning, serving, doing everything. Meanwhile, all that hard-earned cash was being secretly funneled to pay off Shim's angry creditors. Shim even refused to buy basic raw materials for the kitchen. She forced Lee to somehow keep this massive business running without any funding at all. But look, every victim eventually hits a breaking point, right? For Lee, that came in September 2024. Utterly exhausted, she finally stood her ground. She cut off the cash flow to Shim's bank account, demanded her financial independence back, and actually packed her bags, threatening to leave and find her parents.
But for Shim, this was a disaster. Her golden goose, her one and only ticket to paying off that 1.8 billion won debt, was about to fly the coop, and she was not going to let that happen.
Okay, I need to pause here for a second. We are about to enter the darkest part of this investigation. The timeline of events we are about to go through involves some highly disturbing, extremely graphic descriptions of torture and violence. So please, viewer discretion is strongly advised as we talk about the climax of Shim's trap.
September 18th rolls around. Shim tells Lee she wants to talk things out before she leaves. It was a complete lie. Step 1. Shim secretly summons 3 of her brainwashed sons and 1 fanatic cult follower to the building. Step 2. Under her direct orders, these 4 men go to a local welder and literally build a custom heavy-duty metal barbecue framework. Step 3. They haul it up to the 2nd floor. When Lee walks in, there's no conversation. It's a total ambush. They drag her to the floor, force her onto the metal grid, and bind her body to the frame using thick, heavy chains.
What happened next was 3 hours of pure, agonizing torture. At 3:45 p.m., under the guise of an exorcism, Shim orders a pan of red-hot, flaming charcoal to be shoved directly underneath Lee's chained torso. She literally shoved a cloth into Lee's mouth to muffle her screams. Around 4:30 p.m., she drags the burning coals up toward Lee's face, melting her hair right to her scalp, before moving it down to her legs. The heat was so direct and so intense that Lee's internal organs actually began to rupture and fail. It wasn't until 6:49 p.m., over 3 hours later, that the fire finally cooled down and Lee lost consciousness. And if you can believe it, the cruelty didn't even stop there. Once Lee went totally limp, Shim orchestrated this sickeningly calculated cover-up. They unchained her body. Then, Shim meticulously took individual hot coals and placed them directly onto Lee's severe burns. She even had her guys scatter pieces of raw meat all around the body. Why? She was staging the scene to look like a tragic, clumsy kitchen accident. She wanted it to look like Lee had just tripped and fallen onto a commercial grill. Only after setting all this up did they finally call for an ambulance. Paramedics rushed Lee to the ER, but the 4th-degree burns and internal damage were just too severe. She tragically died the very next day. Meanwhile, Shim and her crew are at the station, confidently telling detectives that it was just a terrible cooking accident. But the police saw through the lie immediately, because what Shim somehow forgot or ignored was that the 2nd floor of the restaurant had HD CCTV cameras. Investigators pulled the tape and watched 3 hours of undeniable, crystal-clear proof of the ambush, the chains, the coals, and the cover-up. The public had been outside demanding justice, and thankfully, that video evidence delivered it swiftly. On May 22, 2025, Shim and all 4 of the men were slapped in cuffs and arrested. The trial blew the lid off the massive 1.8 billion won debt and the entire fraud. By September 2025, the judge dropped the hammer. Shim, the mastermind behind it all, got life in prison. She's never getting out. And her 4 accomplices, they were hit with massive 20 to 25-year sentences with absolutely no possibility of parole. But here is the detail that absolutely chilled me to the bone. It didn't happen at the crime scene. It happened right there in the courtroom. When Lee's parents took the stand, you'd think they would be demanding the maximum penalty for the brutal murder of their daughter, right? No. They wept. They actively begged the judge to show mercy on Shim. The psychological manipulation was so deep, so completely unbreakable, that even after watching the CCTV tape, Lee's parents genuinely believed Shim was just trying to cleanse their daughter of a demon. It just leaves you with this heavy, haunting question to end on. How on earth can the human mind be so fundamentally broken and manipulated that parents will stand in a court of law and defend their own child's killer? I really want to know what you guys think about the psychology behind this one. Drop your theories down in the comments below. Let's get a conversation going. And please make sure you like this video and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss your next daily crime investigation. Stay safe out there, and I will see you in the next video.